Christopher Nolan is my favorite director of all time, and he has a new film, so today I'll be ranking all 12 of his movies from the worst to the best. And remember, this is only my opinion, so be sure to leave your own list down below. And also consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video.
And here we go.
Coming in at last place, we are following. Nolan's first film is far from being a bad movie, but comparing it to his others is really pretty hard. It obviously has a very small budget, so none of the spectacle and visuals his other films are known for is on display here. And also, the whole concept and plot is not one I find all that interesting. Now I do think there are some clever twists and turns throughout the story which is nice, but it's one I probably won't ever watch again. The way the plot is done is definitely a good first look at what Nolan will later perfect, but it wasn't fully there yet. Then we have Tenet, a first time watch for me, and on the story level, this movie doesn't really work, mainly due to one reason: it's too confusing. And it's unnecessarily confusing too. On a technical level though, it is great. The action scenes are directed so well, as you get time moving backwards, so it's just visually very cool to look at, and the cinematography is also really pretty. So it is such a shame the plot was so hard to follow. Now I know with a ton of rewatches the experience could improve, but a movie shouldn't require you to watch it 10 times to understand it. What is so painful is while watching the film, it is so obvious how good it could have been, as there are actually some really cool ideas in here. Then we have The Dark Knight Rises, an epic conclusion to this trilogy that goes much bigger in scale than any of the previous films did. But I do think, while it has so many really cool moments, and also very emotional moments, there are much more flaws in this film compared to the other two. On the positive side, we get another great villain in Bane, who's actually a physical threat to Batman. And we also get Catwoman, who's another nice addition. But the best sequence is definitely that final scene. It is so good, and such a powerful end to this trilogy. But I think the movie can feel a bit repetitive at times. Like Bruce has to become Batman twice. First time when he comes out of retirement, and the second time when he returns to Gotham. And while Batman is gone, all the scenes in Gotham about the police going up against Bane's army just feels like the same thing over and over. The final villain twist was just not great in my opinion. That brings us to Insomnia, the only movie Nolan didn't write, and one I thought was better than I was expecting. It definitely doesn't have all the things he is famous for, like non-linear plots, crazy ideas and clever twists, but it is solid enough. It has a great cast and a pretty good plot. While it is a crime mystery film, the mystery itself is never the most intriguing thing about the story. Instead, it's the struggle of the lead character and his rivalry against the villain. And what made it even better is the eerily stunning landscape this film is set in. Now again, like a lot of these bottom movies, it's not one I'll really choose to rewatch, and it is definitely the Nolan film that feels the least like a Nolan film, but it's still pretty good. At number 8 we have Memento, such a clever film. Just the main premise about a movie that is told in reverse just presents so many opportunities to have twists and turns, all of them being very well thought out. And the way the story is structured creates constant intrigue, as we just start a sequence where you have no idea what is happening, then it would backtrack to explain, so sort of a reverse cliffhanger. And Guy Pearce is just fantastic in the lead role and really made this character believable. But I do think, out of Nolan's filmography, this is one I probably won't decide to rewatch all that often. It's one that I'm glad that I saw and it blew my mind in that final scene, but not one I'll revisit anytime soon. At number 7 is Oppenheimer. Now from here on, these are all great movies and it's really just down to personal preference. Biopic films are definitely not my go-to genre, but this movie was really interesting. A big standout here is definitely the incredible cast. Cillian Murphy just disappears into this role and captures the characters so well. The same can be said about Robert Downey Jr. Then of course, it is a Nolan film, so his creativity is on display as always. Visually, it just portrays different things in such a unique way. For example, the way he visualizes thoughts and ideas is done really well. The plot is also structured in a pretty clever way, as there are two main timelines playing out, so scenes get shown that you don't fully realize the importance of just yet until much later, which changes the whole way you view those scenes. Then of course, the main bomb scene is very good and such a suspenseful sequence. So good movie, one I definitely won't choose to rewatch as you definitely feel those 3 hours, but still good. Then we have Dunkirk. Nolan's take on a war movie is really good. What he does so well is the immersion. The scenes in this movie are directed so well, and in such a way where you constantly feel the danger and the urgency. Whether that be running across a battlefield or plane fights, it's sequences that are really exciting and really tense. And like all of his films, the cinematography is stunning. The plot is also created in a really interesting way, where there are 3 different subplots and all of them collide in the finale. I do think some of the characters are pretty forgettable, but I don't think that matters much. as it isn't a story about one character, rather a story about this particular war, and it's more about the experience. Then we have Batman Begins, one of the best superhero origin stories that finally gave us a grounded and mature Batman movie. And what it also gave us was definitely the best version of Batman with Christian Bale, who just suits Bruce Wayne so well. The whole origin of Batman is just a really interesting and compelling journey which is portrayed really well in this movie. Bruce is given a really satisfying hero's journey as he learns to overcome his fear and fights it by becoming Batman. So of course you get a lot of very cool Batman moments. Another fantastic addition is Liam Neeson as the main antagonist, as he has close ties to our lead character and is Bruce's mentor. So a great start to the best superhero trilogy of all time. Then we have The Prestige. It seems that this is a pretty underrated Nolan film, but it's easily one of my favorites. Obviously the cast is amazing, especially the two lead characters played by Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, who are just fantastic in this film. But a big reason this movie is so good is the way the plot is structured, as the sequences are not told in a linear order. So the opening to the film is actually the end, and all throughout the movie it slowly starts to build towards that scene. And once you reach the end, the twist is so good. It completely changes the way you viewed everything that happened before, and looking at all the details and clues given, the twist is believable. Entering the top 3, we have Interstellar, sort of a modern version of 2001: A Space Odyssey, as it's also this big space epic. And easily one of my favorite sci-fi films of all time. From the beautiful main theme to the breathtaking visuals, this movie is a technical masterpiece. And on a story level, it manages to have spectacle, whether it be escaping a giant wave or trying to dock a spinning space station. It is memorable sequences that are directed so well, but it also really shines on a story and character level as it just absolutely nails the emotional moments. Especially the scene where the lead character watches all the footage from the years he has missed. Such a good sequence. So a very good movie, but there are two I think are better. In second place we have Inception, just one of the most creative films I've ever seen, as it's a heist movie but one using people's dreams. And all the rules set inside this world on how these dream heists work all feel believable, and are somewhat tied to how our own dreams work in reality. And because it uses all of these dream sequences, the visuals in this movie are phenomenal. The plot itself also has some cool action and heist moments, but also a lot of emotion to it, and so many layers, just like the dreams in this movie have. The lead character and his whole story is really interesting, and pays off so well when you reach the end. Which presents the popular debate, was he dreaming when the top was spinning or was he not? I think he wasn't, but let me know what you thought. So overall, this weird mix of genres is just a perfect film, and easily one of my favorites of all time. But coming in at number 1 is The Dark Knight. What can I say, easily one of, if not the best comic book movie of all time. It builds upon the strong foundation laid in Batman Begins and just produces a great sequel to an already great movie. This movie just stands out so much compared to this overpopulated superhero genre, mainly because it draws its inspiration from crime films, which gives it such a distinct style and vibe. And of course, it probably has the best movie villain of all time in the Joker, who is portrayed so well by Heath Ledger. He's such a menacing villain, but at the same time, he can be so entertaining every time he's on screen. This character is obviously praised the most, but I think Two-Face is such an underrated villain. So not much more to say, one of my favorite movies ever, and in my opinion, Christopher Nolan's best film, so it comes in at number 1.